It's the planet's ultimate game.
It's Carvajal's cross. Rodrigo. Oh, extraordinary. They prayed for miracles, and miracles arrived. Real Madrid, the team of dreams.
Xhaka's corner shot. A game of the Arsenal bench. This is the lead.
Would the Celtic guess who's never went away?
It's 2-1. A phenomenon.
What's happening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Final Third. It's me, Sam, aka FIFA Brit, and I am joined by Mr. Brad Thomas. And I just want to say up front, I know the last time we spoke, I said we were going to do something the following week, and then kind of forgot that the following week was Thanksgiving, and travel plans happened, and yeah. I do this often. I tend to be like, all right, brilliant, guys. Consistency is about to happen. And then inevitably it never does. So I'm going to open up by saying that the holiday period is coming up. So I can't promise you consistency, but we're going to do our best anyway. All right, now that that's out the way, we can actually talk about what we've missed since we've been away. Brad, how have you been doing? I haven't seen your gorgeous face in a couple of weeks.
Been pretty good. Honestly, I feel like I'm just keeping my head above water in soccer, though. Like, it's one day win 2 units, next day lose 2 units, one day win 2 units, next day lose 2 units. It's wild. And I don't understand. Like, what am I doing wrong? Trusting these shit teams?
Yeah, I feel you.
Like today,
yeah.
Like today, I had both teams to score parlay that cashed from midweek. Then I cashed Kulusevski shots. Like, that was really nice. But then, like, Bournemouth have like 500 shots and Semenyo only takes 2 of them. Like, that's the kind of stuff that's been going on. You know, it's just like, well, or like João Pedro or Matoma. If we were betting first half shots, we would have cashed them. Didn't take a shot either. Excuse me. Either took a shot in the second half. It's just, just the way the ball bounces.
Yeah, it was a weird. Well, I thought, the Bournemouth Spurs game was very exciting to watch, but I'm very glad I didn't have any action on the over because I feel like that would have sent me into hell.
My God.
Just watching Bournemouth consistently. I mean, they created about 3 XG. I mean, the fact that they didn't score at least a second goal is wild, and the fact that Spurs didn't find a single goal. I mean, Spurs are like one of the most inconsistent teams. It really is hilarious. And you know what? As an Arsenal fan, I enjoy dunking on them a lot, but I tell you what, I am incredibly grateful for them for beating Spurs 4-0. Love that. But it's the most Spurs thing possible to like lose to Ipswich, then beat City 4-0.
Yep.
And then go back to sucking. That's the thing. And I always say it. I said this a couple of weeks ago going into the City Spurs game. Spurs always play City weirdly well. But the thing is, it doesn't matter how good or bad Spurs are going into the City game. That makes no difference. Yeah. They just always do weirdly well against them. And I swear, if you go back and you look at historical games where Spurs have played City, look at the fixtures either side of it, and you will see dumb shit like losing to Ipswich or like losing to Burnley or something like that a couple of seasons ago, something along those lines. They always do it, and it makes no sense, but it's the most Spurs thing possible. Yeah, because their ceiling is like world-class top European side, but their floor is like championship. It's hilarious how inconsistent they can be. It also makes betting on them really frustrating, but it's still really entertaining to watch.
It's so funny. It's just because like they play with this like crazy frantic style. Watching them play in today's match, I was like, do they realize they're only down a goal? Like it felt like they were playing like they were down like multiple goals. I was like, they're leaving these huge spaces at the back. I couldn't believe what they were doing. I was like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, I mean, that's Ange ball for you. It's so funny too because Ange just refuses to change his approach to games. And this is something that's come up when people talk about Arsenal as well. And people just seem shocked that you can have multiple approaches that not only differ by opponent, but also differ by the players that you have available and the situation in the game itself. Yeah. There are so many fans on Twitter that are just like, I mean, for example, let's take Man U fans. Coincidentally, they happen to play Arsenal. I know I said I would try not to talk about Arsenal as much, but it happens to be relevant to the point I'm making. The amount of Man U fans I saw on Twitter saying, "Oh my God, they only score from corners. I would rather like play, like, how can they play like that? Why, it would be better to play attacking, beautiful football and lose than to win like that." And it's just like, have you listened to yourself? Because here's the thing. One, it's not even true. The fact, like, I don't understand where this whole Arsenal only score from set pieces thing comes from. Yes, we're really good at it, but it is very clearly not the only way that we score goals. In the past 3 games, we literally just scored, 13 goals?
Yeah.
Like 3 against Forest, 5 against Sporting, 5 against West Ham. So creating goals is not a problem. And 2, even if that was the only way that we scored, there's nothing wrong with being good at something and doing it well. You know what I mean? And it's just, it's remarkable. It just, it makes me think of the Arsenal City game when we were winning with 10 men and everyone was just like, "Oh my God, Arsenal are parking the bus. They're playing for a tie." And it's just like, no, are you a fucking idiot? Do you understand what defending a lead means? It means trying to win. What, like, I swear they want you to, like, attack up a goal at the Etihad down a man. Like, in what world is anyone going to do that? No.
Yeah.
It's the right thing to defend a lead. Anyway, I'm not going to get worked up about it, but I think people that think that way are fucking idiots. Just putting that out there. I'm starting aggressive. It's been 2 weeks and I've had that bottled up. But yeah. I'll tell you what, though, we should talk about the title race because we do have an incredibly wide open title race. It's actually incredibly entertaining because we can't even rule out City yet. City have been bad, but they're still incredibly within reach, and we have several teams that are fighting for it. City
have been so bad, and
City have been awful.
Then with Liverpool giving up that late 90th minute goal, that allowed more teams in.
Yeah, thank God. That was a tough one because I bet Liverpool money line, and I have no regrets taking it at minus 125. Even then, it closed at even money, which I wasn't really thrown off by because you usually see a lot of money come in the home team, especially if they're an underdog, just because people buy into home advantage, especially when it's St. James's Park. Yeah. And I don't know, look, I've got no regrets about taking Liverpool money line. It's just frustrating because they should have won that game. Up 3-2, you have to see that out.
Yeah.
If you score 3 goals against Newcastle, you should be winning the game, But I don't know. Newcastle, talking of inconsistent teams, Newcastle are a weird side. It makes no sense because they keep doing shit like this. They go from beating Arsenal, like 5 games ago, they beat Arsenal 1-0. Now, to be fair, it was an early kickoff. We played poorly, but I have a lot of people say that Arsenal fans can't accept losses or they blame the referees. I got nothing for this one. And I think most rational fans wouldn't have anything to say. Arsenal did not play well in that game. Newcastle deserved to win. They then beat Forest away from home. Now, Newcastle are typically not very good away from home, and Forest have been in really good form. They beat them 3-1. They then lose 2-0 at St. James's Park to West Ham. That's weird. That's not what a good team does. Then they draw to Palace, having taken 1 shot in the entire game, and it wasn't even the shot that they scored off an own goal. So, the shot wasn't even the goal that they didn't even come from the 1 shot. They took 1 shot all game. Thank God Palace got a goal right at the death because that would have been the most bullshit win ever. And then they tie 3-0 to Liverpool. They're all over the place. Sometimes they're good offensively, sometimes they can't score for shit. Sometimes they lock it the fuck down and can hold Arsenal to no goals, and then sometimes they ship 3 goals to Liverpool. It just doesn't make. It's so inconsistent on multiple levels.
It's so bad. It's so hard to trust them betting too. And I thought it was a good spot to bet Liverpool, but then you bring up that Palace game. I talked about that on the Bet US show today, where anytime they're away from home, it's even more scary, right? So it also kind of excuse me, you're away from home. You're like, oh, should I bet them even though they're playing against a shit team like Palace? Oh, they're not even going to try, right? That's what it feels like. They're not trying. And so I kind of understand what you're talking about. I don't even know why.
They're just, they're just inconsistent.
Exactly what you're talking.
Yeah, I can tell you. I was like, you asking me what I think about Newcastle being inconsistent? Boy, sit down. I am ready to go. But yeah, it makes no sense. But I guess that's football. West Ham, also a team. Speaking of the fact that they beat Newcastle 2-0 at St James's Park, and then since then, I mean, they got smacked by Arsenal, but then they lost 3-1 to Leicester. Now, we've talked about the new manager boost. I guess that's not really a surprise in hindsight, but I did not expect Leicester to win 3-1. That's a good win.
Dude. And they not only that, excuse me, my bad. They like scored early, and then they had like multiple chances to score more. Like Payton not touching the ball, but also they like held out like 25, 26 shots. That game was incredible for a new manager boost. Like, imagine you have the balls to play Leicester City. You get up a goal early. You're like, hell yeah, we're chilling. And then this barrage happens late. Like, you're like, oh my God, are we going to be able to withstand this? That was an incredible game.
I'll tell you what, though, Brad. Let me ask you a question. How many shots do you think Leicester took?
Had to been like 6.
It was 6. Well, no, it was 8.
Wow.
They took 8 shots all game, and I wish they'd taken more, because I bet, and I know you're with me on this one, Facundo Buonanotte did fuck all.
Oh my God,
and it was so painful. Literally, as soon as they scored that goal and they raised the flag, I was like, okay, going to be disallowed. Then I saw the replay and I was just like, oh shit, he's on. That's going to ruin this entire game. And it did, because West Ham then couldn't score until the 93rd minute.
It was a prop bet game annoyance if you had Facundo. I mean, if you took anybody on West Ham, you were chilling.
My God, yeah. I am. Something else I dislike about West Ham is they have this weird like midfield system where I can never tell if they're running a 4-3-3 with a flat 3 midfield, or they're running a 4-2-3-1 with a focus like a proper number 10. And because they switch between them like mid-game, because I've said this before, a team setup, their tactical setup goes way beyond their initial just like formation setup. A lot like you see Pep in like a 3-2-4-1, but that inevitably ends up turning into like a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-1, like something like that, where it shifts during the game, and you kind of have to watch a team to understand how that shift happens and how players, you've got like a base position, but that role is going to change throughout the game depending on what happens. And West Ham started with Soler, Souček, and Alvarez. Now, Alvarez pretty clearly is a defensive mid. That much, I know that we know that for sure. But then you have guys like Souček and Soler that can both play center mid, but can also and have also played in that attacking mid role. And it's really frustrating because unless you have like the West Ham lineup actually has them listed in formation order rather than in number order, if they don't list in formation order, then you can't tell who's actually playing where. Yeah. So it's incredibly frustrating. Now, the thing is, so typically when that happens is I don't touch it. If I don't have a definitive read, unless the odds are so good that I can play both, and if one goes off, I can get away with it, then I think about it. But typically I just avoid it. And then, of course, Soler has 4 shots.
Oh my God.
And Souček has 5 shots. And I was just like, and you know what? I'm pretty sure they both took 3 in the first half. And as I was watching this game, I was just like, God damn it. When will they bring back this motherfucking market? I miss it every day.
It was literally the best market ever.
I know.
That's why I'm like, also like, man, I was making so much money on first half shots. Now I have to actually like handicap other shit.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the situation I've been in for the past couple of months, is the number of like actual 1 unit bets I have out has decreased so much because I just have like, I gauge my exposure based on like confidence level and like the odds themselves. Like if I see something priced at like plus 500, but I think it should be like plus 150 or plus 200, especially if it's like a shots bet, then I'll play it as if it's the odds I think it should be rather than what it actually is. Because then I'm trying to maximize my potential profit here. But most of it comes down to a confidence thing. And just because that market doesn't exist anymore, I've now had to lower that significantly. I've got a lot of half unit plays because I now have to factor in playing time again, which is something I never had to do when I bet first half shots.
Never. It's like,
because you're getting 45 minutes. Like, unless someone gets hurt, which, as I've said when we talked about this market, only ever happened to me once. In 2 years of betting that market, it happened to me once. So it's typically never a concern. And then so you're getting 45 minutes plus a little bit of extra for whatever added time there is. You know that. No one's getting subbed off tactically in the first half. The only time I think I've ever seen a tactical first half sub is in the World Cup final when I think Giroud got taken off like half an hour in when France were down 2-0. Something weird like that. But it never happens. And so that's such a massive and something I think I took for granted. Well, I don't know I took it for granted because I said it a lot. But it was such a beautiful aspect of that market. One, the odds were great. And two, you had that reliance. You could rely. You didn't have to factor that in. You didn't have to factor in playing time because you knew you were getting 45 minutes. Now, the fact that is gone, and now I have to add that into my process for betting full game props is so much. It's so not difficult, but it's annoying. And I had forgotten how really frustrating it is to have a guy yanked after like an hour when you're thinking you might get 70 or 80 minutes. And it's just so frustrating to have to deal with that. And I hate losing that way.
When they do the freaking halftime sub, you're like, you got to be freaking kidding me.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's really frustrating. Like I mean, this week in general, I had on Tuesday, I had so many things that was so close to hitting, and they just couldn't get across the line. Like I had a Kanji. So Dalot was playing in that right wing back spot for Man U, and he was up against Zinchenko, and I was just like, okay, you know my system, Brad. If Zinchenko starts at left back for Arsenal, I take whoever is playing on that right hand side for shots, goals, assists, like basically you name it. Yeah. And it also helped that Amorim has been running shit down the right-hand side. Yeah. You know, when Diallo was playing there, Diallo was running the show. So I was kind of worried that Diallo was going to get subbed early. That didn't happen. But he took 2 of Man U's 5 or 6 shots, and that was about plus 600 or something like that. Problem is, I didn't want to go, and I've talked about this before, I didn't want to commit to that because Arsenal are a defensive wagon, especially at home. And so I kind of just like sprigged on a little lotto, and I paired his 2 shots with a Kanji 2 shots over at Man City because a Kanji had replaced Rico Lewis in that kind of like hybrid defensive role, defensive mid outside back kind of role. So I played them both for an assist because a Kanji's assist was like 17-1, which was juiced, really nice. And I played them both for 2 shots. Dalot gets his 2 shots. Akanji gets a shot in the first half, then subbed at halftime for Kyle Walker. And I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? For Kyle Walker, of all people. So it's just like, and like if you play an hour, fair enough. But also, even as a defender, you don't expect defenders, like at least with attackers and midfielders, you kind of know there's going to be a sub. Defenders typically don't get subbed unless you need a goal. And City were winning. Like, I think 1-0, 2-0 at that point. Definitely 1-0 because they scored early. I forget when the second goal was scored, but they're winning and had basically total control of that game for the first time in a long time. They looked really, really good. Yeah. And I know it was Forest, but Forest aren't a pushover and City have been awful. So you can't really say it's only Forest, but they actually looked how you would expect Man City to look. So that sub pissed me off. And then I bet Enzo Fernandez and Yuri assists, and Enzo got 1 assist. Yeah. But of course, I had him paired with a Tielemans assist, and Tielemans created the most big chances and had the most expected assists. I also bet Enzo for 2 assists, and that was worse because not only did Enzo have the most chances created, and 2 assists was like 55-1 or something like that. So it was a real spicy one. Yeah. But I don't know if you saw the Chelsea highlights, Brad. Did you happen to see the Chelsea highlights?
I watched the Chelsea game.
You watched the Chelsea game. So you remember very specifically Enzo playing Nkunku through, Nkunku having a gorgeous cutback onto his left foot. And then, I'm pissed at Nkunku because he didn't rip the shit out of that shot and should have just hammered that into the back of the net. But he lets a little soft shot that's going in, and that's an Enzo assist right there. And then fucking stat padding Cole Palmer decides to just yeet it in and just boot it like for no reason from like a foot out of the goal. So that really pissed me off. And I didn't see that until after the game too, because I was watching the Arsenal game. And I was just like, I saw the highlight and I was just like, you are kidding me. You know, like I don't blame Palmer for like, the ball was there and, I see why he wanted to kick it in. I'm not going to say, I think we'd all have done the same, but it was just so frustrating that Nkunku didn't just fucking put his foot through it and just smack that shit in, because that would have been, that's about $250 right there. Would have been nice.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. That's basically all the shit that happened this week. Let's talk about some upcoming games. I realized we didn't actually talk about the title race. We started talking about the title race.
We did it incognito.
Yeah, we tangentially touched upon it, I suppose. But let's round out that segment that really got waylaid. It's pretty early to call. But let me ask you I say a simple yes or no question. It's a yes or no question. Brad, do you think that Liverpool have what it takes to win the title?
I do.
Okay. Do you think they're going to do it?
Yeah, I think they are. I hope they are. Right. I have them 7-1 to win the league.
Do you really? Where on earth did you get 7-1?
I can tell you the exact date that I bet it.
Like you took it straight, or did you have it parlayed with something else?
Straight.
What? That's crazy. Yeah, it must have been it must have been super early in the season when Haaland was scoring hat-tricks for fun.
Oh no, I don't have him 7-1. I have him 5-1.
Oh, okay. Look, it's still good.
Week 3.
Okay. Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. And it's funny? It's funny? Like I had them last season and I was like, I'm not gonna bet them again preseason. They just broke my heart. And then I was like, after match day 3, I was like, getting 5-1, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, if you want to hear a story about betting on something the season before and you being too early and then saying like, I won't do it again, let me give you a little basketball tangent, because a year ago, I saw, I've been watching Payton Pritchard play for a couple of years now, and I love this guy. And before the season before this one, he was plus 6,000 for 6th man of the year. And I was just like, if we give this guy minutes, I think he's going to make a pretty good case for it. I had like $5 on it. And, it didn't work out. We didn't really use him consistently off the bench. He was I still made a lot of money off him because his odds are always juiced, because you were never sure if he was going to play like 15 minutes. And you would kind of hope that's what you would get. And then he was listed, he balls out in summer league, in preseason, looks great. And I see him listed again at plus 6,000. I was just like, I can't do it again. I should thought about it. It's also difficult because I can't bet player awards in New York. So it's kind of like a hassle to go to Jersey. And I was just like, I just didn't end up doing it. And now, of course, he's minus 250 to win it all, clear front runner favorite for 6th man of the year. And I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, I love this guy, and I'll be so happy if he wins it. But God damn it, I should be sitting on a plus 6,000 future right now, and I'm not, because it's a hassle to go and bet it. And I thought I'd be a fool for doing it 2 years in a row. I was a year too early on Payton Pritchard, 6th man of the year.
That's what we call Payton Pritchard flop lag right there.
Yeah. And fun fact, I just looked at my Pickett yearly review, and Payton Pritchard was my number 1 player to bet on. He had the most wins on him.
Wow.
Followed by Bukayo Saka at number 2.
Wow.
That's which I love. I love that so much. If you could sum up my, my fandom, the players that I've been supporting since day one, Payton Pritchard and Bukayo Saka, that might be my top 2. So I love that. But anyway, let's now, I think it's too early to talk about the title race. I put it in there because we're, okay. Before we move on, I'll ask you another yes or no question. Do you think Chelsea are in the title race?
Oh my God. No.
That's a fun one. Okay.
I don't think they defend well enough.
I think they are in the title race because they have a really good run of fixtures right now, and they're ahead of Arsenal. And I think if they can figure it out defensively, I think offensively they're scoring really well.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Also, Caicedo. I think Caicedo's having a brilliant performance this season, and people aren't really talking about it because defensive mids don't get enough love. But he's been rock solid. I think their centre back situation leaves a little bit to be desired. Reece James getting hurt again isn't going to shock anyone. Gusto is decent, but also they haven't got like outside backs that you can like rely on. I know people like Cucurella. I don't love him. He's an inconsistent guy. When he turns up, he's really solid, but he can also get absolutely cooked. So defensively, I do see the concerns. Yeah. But I do think they're gonna do better than people might think, especially with like an easy run of fixtures. I think and obviously an easy run of fixtures now means that it's gonna be a bit of a tough one towards the end of the season. Yeah. So I'm not saying they're gonna win the title, but they should come top 4. And I think it'll be interesting.
I had flop lag on Chelsea. I bet them to finish top 5 last season. This season, I don't think I bet them to do anything. Let me see. Pull up my futures. No, I don't have anything on them this season.
I know former co-host Mr. Betting the Pitch has a future of them to win the league at like 28-1 or something like that. He's got a nice little cash out right now. I got to text him and be like, "Yo, take that cash out. It's not going to happen." But to be fair, that's a fun one to ride. That's a ticket that as a guy that likes Chelsea, you don't want to cash out, even though it's probably the right thing to do, just to say that you have the ticket in case it happens. So if he doesn't want to cash that one out, I wouldn't blame him. But that's a fun one to be sitting on. Alrighty, I think we can wrap up that EPL title race segment that didn't really actually happen. We kind of talked about a whole lot of stuff in between, and then really kind of just wrapped it up with a couple of questions. But I think it's time to look ahead to the games this weekend. And we also, not to get too ahead of ourselves, we have Champions League in the week right after the weekend as well. So that's a lot of fun. But let's talk about the Premier League. We've got some really interesting games to talk about. And let's start with the early morning kickoff, because this is a very fun game, because this is a proper test. We are talking about the Merseyside Derby, Everton at home against Liverpool. Now, this is a great game. And I say that even though I think there's a chance this game actually ends pretty low scoring. This is a great game because this is a test. And are Everton good? No, not really. A 4-0 win against Wolves is cool. Fair enough. That doesn't fool me. I still don't think Everton are a good team. But this is at Goodison Park. And I'm pretty sure this is the last season at Goodison Park before Everton moved to a new ground. So this is the last Merseyside derby, unless we get some like weird league, like cup shenanigans, which I don't even know who's still in the cup anymore. So I won't say that can or can't happen. But this is the last league game, the last league Merseyside derby at Goodison Park. It's also an early morning kickoff. And I don't know if you guys buy into that or not, but early morning kickoffs are weird. This is something that Klopp has complained about. But obviously Klopp's not in charge anymore. But Klopp used to complain about Liverpool getting put in the early morning kickoff, which of course is 12:30 in the afternoon over in England. But it's 7:30 for us. But it's it's a reasonable lunchtime game. But it's still the quote unquote early kickoff in England. And Klopp used to whine about that shit all the time because Liverpool used to not perform very well in that time slot. So this is a game where you kind of have to be like, okay, Liverpool, if you're serious about this title race, this is a game that you have to come up and you need to rock the shit out of your rivals here. I mean, these teams are spitting distance from each other. It's one of those rivalries like Arsenal Spurs, not as intense as Arsenal Spurs, but one of those rivalries that's very much like it's geographically based, but the best rivalries are geographically based. Yeah. But there's a difference in class. It's not like El Clasico where they just fucking hate each other and they're also both very good. Liverpool have pretty much always been better than Everton. Arsenal have pretty much always been better than Spurs. But you never really know how the derby's going to go because it's a derby and it's going to be feisty as hell and it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm not going to say that Liverpool are definitely going to win, but they should win. And if they do, I think that's, everyone's going to expect them to win. And if they do, I think they'll deserve more credit than they'll get for it because if they do win, it'll be like, okay, it was fucking Everton. Well done. You should win that game.
Yeah.
But if you can win away at Goodison Park, having just lost 2 points. I mean, I know a lot of Liverpool fans that think that draw to Newcastle felt like a loss.
Yes.
And fair enough. It should, it should feel like a loss because that was, pretty embarrassing to concede 3 goals to Newcastle. So I'm really interested to watch this one. I think I will actually get up and stay up early to watch this one, but we'll see because I'm going out to sing karaoke on Friday night, so no promises.
Ooh. I don't know if you're gonna make that. I think it's
definitely not, because that means I'm getting home at like 4 o'clock in the morning. 2 hours of sleep before lineups drop. Who knows?
Yep.
What do you think about this game, Brad?
Listen, I took Liverpool to win in under 4.5 goals. -130. You could take under 3.5 for +125 if you don't want to pay the negative vig there. But for me, it was pretty simple, right? Like Sean Dyche is gonna pack this freaking thing in and say, you're gonna have to beat us, right? They haven't had more than 2 goals since scored in this derby since 2021. And I think this Liverpool side is good enough to get a result here. But I also think that Liverpool, they're not going to try to bury Everton. Like if they get up 1 or 2 goals, they're going to want to see this game out, unlike they did their game against Newcastle. A little bit of a warning sign, right? So I think that we see them win, but this can be really low scoring.
Yeah, I agree with that, especially because they have Champions League on, I think they play on Tuesday. So, and they have to travel to Spain because they're playing Girona in Spain. So I can definitely see, you got 1 or 2-0. I think that's how you kind of like manage the game. I like the money line and the under. I was thinking about taking their under on shots, but that's always that's a sweat and a half when you're playing Liverpool because they can rack that shit up so quickly. But the line is like 19.5, and 20 shots is a lot of shots.
A lot.
The problem is it really hinges on them scoring early if you want to try and sweat that under, because the longer that game stays 0-0, the way that Sean Dyche just has Everton pack the box, it just leaves so many chances to change shots on the edge of the box. Like you'll see fucking Szoboszlai will rock up, he'll rip a shot, it'll bounce off a defender, and he'll shoot the rebound. That's 2 right there that you just gave up in a few seconds. As much as we love, when we're betting overs, we love the fact that shots can change together. But when you're betting unders, you can see Liverpool go from like 0 shots to 5 shots in like 2 minutes. So I think the money line and the under, the way that you have it, is probably the best way to go. This feels like a 2-0. Maybe you get a 3-0. Maybe you get a 2-1. I don't think we see 4 goals.
No, I don't. It's hard for me to think that we see 4 goals.
Yeah. Unless Salah just goes hero mode.
Yeah, unless Salah has a hat trick and they concede something stupid. Like that's all I could see.
Yeah, I do think we have to kind of touch upon the fact that Liverpool are defensively a little shakier without Konate. Konate is now going to be out I think he's going to be out for a month or so, which means
that is, and Konate being out is the only reason I'm not taking Girona team total under 0.5 in their Champions League match.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I think Joe Gomez is decent. I don't know about Quansah. Quansah, I think, is much more of a liability. Joe Gomez is nice because you can play him as a center back or a right back. But hopefully, that being said, I think Liverpool had to play Quansah because Trent's just coming back from injury and Connor Bradley got hurt. So that's both of their right backs that Trent is fit and he did come on and play and he subbed on and got 2 assists, which was wild. But, you haven't got Connor Bradley, so you haven't got that sort of like natural right back as cover for Trent. And so I do think Trent will start over the weekend. I'm guessing he's fit. How much he plays, we don't know. I'm sure maybe they'll start him, try and get the lead, and then take him off after like an hour or so. Yeah. But, and Joe, if you can play with Van Dijk, Joe Gomez, and then Trent, that's fine. But then once you get Quansah in there, Joe Gomez moves to right back and you got Quansah in at centre back. Now you're a little bit shakier. So hopefully Liverpool don't have to go down that route, but it's something to think about because when they do have that back line, it's a little bit more
scary,
vulnerable. Yeah.
Like, I mean, they're conceding 3 goals after that just shows you that Conte was a big miss.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, that first goal was good. I don't remember the second goal. And the third goal, that's on Kelleher. Kelleher has to stop that from getting to Shaw. I don't know how that got to him, but, hey, it is what it is. But that game should be fun. Let's talk about Brentford Newcastle. I don't have much to talk about this game, but this is going to be a really interesting one because this is interesting because, I've talked about how inconsistent Newcastle are away from home. But if you want to hear about consistent, I have a gorgeous stat for you. Brentford, right? Okay, Brentford are undefeated at home this season.
Yes, isn't that crazy?
They've played 7 games. They have 6 wins and 1 draw. Now, here's the flip side to that stat.
Okay.
They are winless away from home. It's the complete inverse. 0 wins, 1 tie, 6 losses away from home. It's like the most like dramatic split of like home and away splits that I've seen like for a long time. If you go to the Premier League table on FotMob, go home, go away, Brentford are literally top of the home and bottom of the away. And they are underdogs in this game against Newcastle. So I don't know if I'll risk a Tino bet, but it's really calling to me.
Yeah, I just can't. Like, what's funny is like I can't get down with Brentford, but I also can't get down with Newcastle either, right? Like Newcastle have 1 win in their last 4 away days. Like it's really hard. But when I saw that stat about Brentford, I was like, wait, what the fuck? They haven't lost.
Yeah, it's a really interesting stat. I'm tempted by the Tino bet. It's a really nice number, but realistically speaking, it's probably a game that I just don't touch, or I sprinkle on Wissa to score because he's on fire right now. But just the fact that they're underdogs at home and they literally haven't lost yet is wild, especially underdogs to a Newcastle side that are we've talked about this, incredibly difficult to predict, especially away from home. So yeah, I think it's a really interesting game, but I wanted to talk about that stat because it's a really fascinating stat about Brentford. Yeah,
that is a very fascinating stat.
Palace against Man City. Man City are still getting weirdly bettable lines. Now, I say weirdly, it's not that weird because they have been in poor form, but Palace are not good. And Man City are minus 160, minus 165 on the money line straight up. You want to pair that with over 1.5 goals. You're looking at, minus 120, which is unreal odds for Man City. I don't care how bad they are. Palace are not good. And City just won 3-0.
Yep. And to me, it's literally all up to De Bruyne's playing. Like if he's not playing, they just can't score. It's like what the?
It's remarkable how much he changed the look of that side. I mean, everyone's going to talk about Rodri being hurt, and Rodri really is like the linchpin of City's success. But I had forgotten because he's been injured for so long, just how good De Bruyne was, even like on basically playing on like one leg. This man just rocks up, having been out for ages, and then just gets a goal and an assist just like that. Takes the most shots in the entire team. It's just like, okay, all right, De Bruyne, I see you back. I see you.
And they were like, he could have had more assists too. That's what was crazy about it.
Crazy. If De Bruyne is in, I think I will take City money line and over 2.5. Even if it drops like minus 130, I would still take that. If I lose on that, then so be it.
Yeah.
I never want to approach it as an Arsenal fan because that's not fair to anyone who isn't an Arsenal fan. But like, look, at the end of the day, if I bet on City to win and I lose that bet, that means they dropped points. And, I'm not going to lie, that will make me happy. And I will say that it makes me happy because if I didn't say that, I'd be lying to you. But I wouldn't say the bet if I didn't like it, regardless of that fact. So don't you go thinking that I'm just rooting for another team's downfall here. I wouldn't put my hard-earned money on them to win a game if I didn't think they were going to win it. So stick that in your pipe and smoke it. Man U against Forest. This is a fun one. Back at Old Trafford, Amorim is playing well, I want to say. I think he got dismantled by Arsenal, but you know what? I don't hold that against him. A lot of teams do get dismantled.
Like you said, Arsenal scored on 2 set pieces.
Yeah, but you know what? And here's something I said to people on Twitter as well, Brad. We did that because that's the game that we wanted to play. The first half, very cagey. I think Arsenal took 3 shots and Man U took 2 shots. Very cagey game. Man U very clearly rocked up and played for the draw. At which point, we basically said, okay, you don't want to play us in the open field? Fair enough. And we had something like 13 or 14 corners to 0. Man U got no corners, and they gave away corners so cheaply. And if you're going to do that to the team that is the best in the world at scoring from set pieces, then you deserve to lose. And it's so funny too, because everyone was just like, all the Man U fans were just like, you got to fire Arteta. He may as well not be the manager, just be the set piece. Just all we need is the set piece coach. And it's just like, I think they fail to understand how good Arteta is at designing a game plan that gets so many corners. You have to be good at that, And we basically, the possession was 50-50, but they had like 0.3 XG on 5 or 6 shots. They never threatened the goal. I think Dalot had one shot that went just wide. That was basically it. Nothing else they did threatened, and we should and could have scored more. We didn't, and we happened to score on 2 corners. So be it. We created the game plan we wanted, and basically, we dominated them. So, but I don't hold that against him, because we do that to lots of teams. I thought he looked, probably could have done better against Ipswich, but they had a win after that and before the Arsenal game. So I don't hold that against him. And now he's playing a Forest side that I think is finally starting to see the regression that we all kind of thought was coming eventually, because they started off way too hot. And, well, not way too hot. They just were playing very well, but that's not very sustainable. And, I wouldn't be surprised if they, finish in the bottom half of the table this season. Maybe they scrape 8th, 9th, 10th. But honestly, I think the regression is coming. And this is a good game for Man U at home. They're about minus 150 on the money line. Probably wouldn't bet that, but pair it with an over. I see goals in this game. I don't know if they keep a clean sheet, but I also wouldn't bank on Forest scoring. So it's a weird one.
I wouldn't bank.
But Man, you should win.
I wouldn't bang on Forest scoring. They've been playing pretty bad, and then their road games too, have been pretty poor. They've been not taking a lot of shots, not creating high XG outside of their game against, who was it, Ipswich? That's about it.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I am curious to see who he starts, because he's been really tinkering with the lineup. It's kind of a difficult time to bet Man U props, because he's still playing with his starting lineup so much. Diallo, Dalot on that right-hand side. His front three is changing a lot. Sometimes Bruno is playing as the inside forward. Sometimes Bruno is playing in the center mid. He's got Mount rotating in up the front. He's got Rashford, Xerxes, Højlund. That's 3 strikers right there. Rashford's also been playing on the wing. Garnacho's been starting at wing. Sometimes he's not. He's changing a lot of stuff. That being said, whoever starts up top for Man U, I think I wouldn't say a safe bet, but I think it's a good bet to bet on whoever starts up front for a goal, because so much of that play is directed to getting the ball to the striker. Rashford, when he was playing as the 9, had a brace. Xerxes has thrived there when he's been starting up top. So whoever plays in that striker position would look at them for a goal. And if he starts Diallo in that right wing back spot, I would definitely look at him for an assist as well, because he was running that wing. That's my thoughts on the Man U game. What do you think about it, Brad?
Anything to do with that game.
Fair enough. I will not argue with that. Let's talk about Fulham against Arsenal. Now, I don't have much to say about this one, but I am going to say this is a tricky game for Arsenal. It shouldn't be. If it's one of those games where I'm going to say, if we're serious about winning the league, this is the game we have to win. But it's a game that we have not won in the past. And everyone loves to say Arsenal didn't win the league when they quote unquote played for a draw against City last season. Firstly, not true. Secondly, drawing that game is not where we lost the league. We got 4 out of 6 points against City. That's a good result. Where we lost the league was getting 1 out of 12 points against Fulham and Aston Villa. Those are games you have to win. Those are games that we didn't win. Drew against Fulham, lost to Fulham, and then lost home and away to Aston Villa. Now, Aston Villa were playing very well last season, but as a title challenger, those are games you have to win. So, and also, let's not forget that Fulham's entire midfield now consists of former Arsenal players. I would not be shocked if they line up with Iwobi on the right, Reece Nelson on the left, and Smith Rowe at attack.
No, we can't line up with Reece Nelson. He blew his hammy today.
Oh shit! Did he? Okay, well, Reece Nelson's not playing, but it's not even who I was worried about, because he just kind of shoots and doesn't do much with those shots. Yeah. But Iwobi is playing really well right now.
Really well.
Just had a brace in this game that he just played midweek. Had an assist before that, a goal before that, an assist before that. He's got I think 5 goals and assists in 4 games since coming back from the international break. He's absolutely on fire. So I would be worried. I look at playing his shots. I look at playing his to score. His at home today, Iwobi to score or assist was plus 210. And that's at home against, who the hell did they just play?
Brighton.
Game just happened. Brighton.
Yeah.
You know, this is at home against Brighton. And yeah, they were like mild underdogs. It was close to a pick 'em for that game. But like, they're going to be heavy underdogs against Arsenal. But again, it's a home game. I bet his to score or assist is like, it could be close to plus 300. We'll see. I bet his 2 shots will be above even money just because of the way that Arsenal's defense rightfully gets respected. But 2 shots, Iwobi could do that in his sleep. So it's a game that Arsenal should win, but I probably wouldn't bet any Arsenal props because they're usually priced so poorly because we're like minus 250 minus 250 favorites. So I would potentially think about a couple of Fulham props, but I wouldn't go too heavy because Arsenal could and should dominate the game. But just be aware there are 3 ex-Arsenal players. Well, definitely 2. But if Reece doesn't play, you still have Smith Rowe and Iwobi in that team. Oh, also Bert Leno plays in goal. I forgot about him. A lot of ex-Arsenal players.
I don't even know how to approach this game. I probably would go with like I really don't want to go with Arsenal -1. Fulham to score is even like -175. Me probably just a pass. Arsenal have Champions League coming up too. Like could be a distraction, you know.
We should win, you know. But it's also a game that I probably just won't bet. It's like the Brentford Newcastle game. Some things look fun, but probably the smart move is not touching it.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Probably the smart
yeah, we'll see. Now let's talk about the fun game. I think this is going to be the best game of the weekend. It's Spurs-Chelsea. This is a game where I think defense will, and I hope so, will be absolutely optional. I want this to be a fucking 4-3 thriller, back and forth, shots up the wazoo. This game could be a lot of fun.
It should be. Like, I literally might just take both teams' team total over 1.5 and just call it a day.
Yeah, if Spurs can figure out how to finish their chances.
My God. Well, you know what? I normally think it's a good sign when a team fails to score and then they play in another game that behind it should be a shootout. Oh, yeah. That's like, they're normally just like, it's like, God, like the ketchup coming out of the bottle.
Yeah, hey, that's a good analogy. I think this game could be a lot of fun. I do think Chelsea win it, and it's really fun to see their money line at like plus 115, plus 120 away from home. But both of these teams are so like weirdly inconsistent. Well, Chelsea aren't super inconsistent. They're actually playing quite well. But Spurs, again, at home on their day, could just be completely unplayable against. So we'll see. But I do think we get a high-scoring game, but it's probably going to be priced like absolute shit. If you can get good odds on both teams to score over 2.5, then yeah, I would take that. But something tells me that won't be the case. But just for the vibes, I'll shop it right now. And I was correct. Both teams to score over 2.5 is minus 196. That's not exactly what we're looking at here. A goal in both halves. Oh, now it gets a little bit more fun. Both teams to score over 2.5 and a goal scored in both halves is minus 146.
Literally, when I saw the price of both teams scoring over 2.5, I was like, no way. You might as well just take over 3.5 goals.
Yeah, at that point, you might as well just take over 3.5 goals.
Yeah. Which
I hate doing because 4 goals is a lot of goals. But I do think this is that game where we could potentially see that. So we'll see. This is also a game where you can just parlay like a goal and an assist from each side and just toss $5 on it. And you could probably have a good time. Brandon Johnson goal, Kulusevski assist, Cole Palmer, maybe Cole Palmer. Oh, what could be fun? Enzo goal, Palmer assist. That could be fun. But with Chelsea, the problem is they can score from basically anything. The smart thing to do is just to do Palmer to score or assist because Palmer's going to be involved in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
but
I've been doing Enzo.
That's not the fun way. Enzo's been cooking. We need to talk about the fact that Enzo got divorced from his wife and then immediately turned into an absolute fiend.
Savage.
It's hilarious. I mean, he literally I know he's a centre mid, and it's not necessarily fair to judge a centre mid on goals and assist output. It's kind of a lazy analysis depending on their role in the team. But even for a centre mid, he was not living up to 100 million price tag. And now since he got divorced, he's had like 5 goals, 7 assists. 8 games. It's wild. He's just like turning the fuck up. Now, to be fair, 4 of those assists came against like FC Noah in the Conference League. But even so, he's been delivering. He's had a goal or an assist in like all but one, maybe 2 games.
It's been insane.
And he doesn't even shoot that much. Like, it's so rare for him to take 2 shots. It's wild. Like, he's not like a volume shooter here. I kind of wish he was, because his odds are always spicy. And I'm always just like, oh shit, I can get plus 180 on him to take 2 shots. That's fire. And then I see he's taken like 1 shot, just consistently 1 shot every time.
Yep.
And then that's usually the goal. It's, I would look at Enzo assist because it keeps getting priced above like plus 500. And he is like, when he plays, he's creating the most chances. He's creating more than Cole Palmer at this point, which is fascinating. But yeah, that could be a really fun game. And then the last game I want to talk about in the Premier League is the Monday kickoff, West Ham against Wolves. This is a weird game, but this is huge because Lopetegui is playing for his job. I literally think it's if you don't win against Wolves at home, you are fired on Monday. I think that's the case. Yep.
You cannot walk into the building. Your key card will not work. Fired.
Yeah, exactly. So I've been looking at, Wolves, West Ham to win is like minus 110. They should win. But if you think Wolves hang around in this game and force West Ham to chase, you can get West Ham 25 shots at like plus 1,300, which is a lot of fun. I'm thinking about laddering their shots. But again, that really hinges on Wolves being able to stay in the game. And I just watched them concede 4 goals to Everton. So who knows? But I think I might sprinkle that just because even if they're winning, maybe there's a chance he just like tells them to just obliterate the shit out of Wolves anyway.
Yeah.
So that could be fun. But that game's going to be interesting. It's the only game on Monday, and the job is on the line here. This is a win to extend your time at this club for another week situation. It might not even guarantee his safety, but if he does not win this game, he's goodbye. Out. I say on Monday morning. The game's on Monday, so this will be on Tuesday.
It's already like feels like it's blouses for O'Neal, right? Like now we got if I think whatever manager loses, they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that's the way it be,
Yeah. That's all I had to talk about in the Premier League. I want to be mindful of time here. There are a couple of games in La Liga and Serie A that I want to talk about, but they're also not the most exciting games. And we could just talk about Champions League. Are there any games that you like really want to talk about, Brad, or are you cool just hopping into some Champions League?
Just one game I want to talk about: the Inter Milan versus Parma game. Parma have been incredible on the road this season. Only one loss, and that was to Napoli. They have such a leaky squad. Inter are -2 on the line, on the money line, on the spread, goal spread. But I actually think how you bet this game, people are gonna be like, Brad, you're crazy. But you take Inter Milan -3.5 corners and -1.5 first half corner handicap. They've hit it in every single game except 2, and that was against like Juventus and Atalanta, right? Parma give up a ton of possession, give up like 60+%, give up a ton of shots. It's not like they're a team that's real compact, don't let you in. They give up a lot of shots. They just have been kind of fortunate in scoring goals. I think Inter bury them, but I don't want to pick -2. I just think the corners angles is probably one of my favorites of the season.
Beautiful. All righty. Say less. I knew you'd come up with some weird sicko corner shit. What are the odds on that?
Like -130 and -110.
All right, hey, fair enough.
You might get lucky and get -105 on DraftKings. I didn't check DraftKings.
Nice. All right, let's talk Champions League. We're getting down to the business end of this group stage. This is when teams really need wins. So let's talk about Atalanta against Madrid. Atalanta are playing really well. Madrid, not so much. Atalanta at home as well.
Yeah,
Madrid need points. They're at the bottom of the zone. Desperately.
I really want to take Atalanta draw no bet. I think they've won 6 games in a row. It's -102.
Yeah, that is really tempting, especially at home. Madrid don't look massively convincing right now. They just lost. Who did they just play? Bilbao. They just lost 2-1 to Bilbao.
Yeah.
Bilbao, they got to play. They got to play Girona on the weekend. Yeah, and then they have to go and play Atalanta. This is a rough It's a rough run of form for them right now. Why they keep putting Mbappe on pens, I don't know. I know Ancelotti keeps saying it's the player's decision. But, like, at some point, it shouldn't be. At some point, you have to say, Mbappe, stop taking pens. This is not going to help.
Yeah.
I don't know. Jude should be taking pens. Jude is a brilliant penalty taker. Fuck it. Let Lunin take a pen. He's going to take a better... I bet Lunin takes a better pen than Mbappe right now.
I wish I could just bet both teams to score. It's literally minus 170 though.
Ooh, okay. I mean, they should. I think Atalanta Tino bet at home is a good look, and I might ladder Madrid shots if I can get good numbers on them, just because if they are playing from behind, and this could be a pretty back and forth game. Atalanta are playing really well right now, but they also still love to concede. So I think shots could be fun, but we'll see. Let's also talk about Leverkusen Inter. Inter still haven't conceded a goal in the Champions League yet.
Yep.
That's like that. I mean, we've played 5 games at this point? 5 games of Champions League, 5 Champions League games and 0 goals conceded is a wild stat.
Call me crazy, but I don't see how this game has 4 goals in it.
Yeah, is the line 3.5?
It's -2. It's minus. It's 2.75.
Oh, that's very tempting. I kind of assumed the under wouldn't be playable because Leverkusen never really have playable unders, but that's kind of wild.
Yeah. It feels like
wow.
I have to take it,
Yeah, that's tempting. I mean, under 2.5 is, plus money, but under 2.75 is probably a good look if you're down to clown with the Asian totals. That's a good look. I don't think that game is going to be particularly high scoring, especially if Inter just continue to just lock the fuck out of everyone.
Yeah.
And then, all right, as a Juve fan, I need your thoughts on Juventus against Man City.
Oh my God. Oh man, I have gone back and forth on this game. Back and forth. Man, I don't know, dude. Like, I think City win -108.
It's tempting, right?
Win
it's
in
tempting.
Like under 4.5 goals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of those games where I'm just like, I don't know if I want to take a side, but you know what? If you want to commit to a side, brilliant game. You want to take Juventus Tino bet at home against a rough-looking City right now? Be my guest. Go for it. You think City are back, and you think getting -110 on their money line in the Champions League, which they've done really well in historically, is a good deal? Brilliant. Go for it. Don't let me stop you. If De Bruyne plays, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
I won't stop you. I won't stop you there either. So I think it's gonna be a fun one. I don't know how I'm going to approach it yet, but it'll be a really interesting game.
It'll be really interesting, and I just it feels like City are going to win this game. Jen, that might be my pessimism, but I just really don't ever see like Juventus being a good goal scoring squad.
Yeah, I feel that. You never think you're going to score like 2, 3, 4 goals.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fair enough. Can't argue with that. All right, let's round it up. Dortmund against Barca. This should be fun because Dortmund, Dortmund have been playing well, but they don't play well consistently. But if you ever wanted Barcelona to be a bettable price, they're like +110, +115. Yeah, they're playing away from home, but assuming Yamal is fit, which it looks like he is, when Yamal is playing, Barcelona basically win every game. They've only ever dropped points when he's been out, whether being rested or just or actually injured. Assuming he's playing, you get Barcelona, Rafinha to score an assist. You want to look at that? Yep, go ahead. He's cooking right now. Absolutely on fire.
He's scorching in fuego.
Yeah. You want to get a little spicy about it and take Rafinha to score and assist? I bet you could get 10-1 on that. Away from home against Dortmund, I bet you get decent odds on that. And he is, he's playing so well right now. So
well.
I think that's going to be a really fun game. Also, I'm going to be looking at my boy Jamie Gittins props because I love him. And he keeps getting priced at like when they're the underdogs, he keeps getting priced at like 4 or 5-1 to score. I saw him listed at 12-1 for an assist last week. And I was just like, yo, this kid does not deserve that kind of slander here. He's playing really well. So that's how I'm going to approach that game. All righty. That's the last game I wanted to talk about. Anything else that you wanted to cover, Brad, before we say goodbye?
No, good.
Beautiful. All righty. Well, anything you want to plug before we get the hell out of here?
Yeah, just follow me on X at MrBradThomas. all things soccer and footy on NBCSports.com.
Beautiful. You guys can follow me on Twitter at FIFA Brit. If you haven't signed up for Gold Boys already, it's a brilliant time to do that. You can go ahead and sign up at goldboys.com. And thank you very much to the Gold Boys Network for continuing to host this podcast. Even though we are incredibly inconsistent with our uploading recently, we do our best. And it's a good time all around. It just makes it, absence makes the heart grow fonder, is what my mum always likes to say.
Yeah.
So, but that being said, I mean, it's, December's tricky, but, we should be back next week, right, Brad? You got nothing going on next week, right?
No, I'm freaking good for a little bit.
Nice. Yeah. Once we start getting closer to Christmas, then we might get a little dicey, but, hey, we should be back next week. So don't go anywhere, guys. We'll catch you in the next one. Best of luck with all your bets this weekend. And, peace out. Mwah.